Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this October 3rd finds that there are no major changes in the forecast versus what I presented yesterday. Temperature and rainfall outlooks this morning, one can still see a massive battle zone of air masses for the 1 to 5 and 6 to 10 day periods, all sorts of cold weather in western and northwestern portions of the nation on up into western Canada, while abnormal warmth is going to continue in that 10-day time frame for southeastern portions of the nation. That is directly responsible for the big area of above normal rainfall that I'm looking for in the 6 to 10 day period. You can see that the pattern does relax in the 11 to 15 day time frame, and as a result, we are seeing the rainfall totals in the 11 to 15 day period start to come down as well. QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame. I do not have any major disagreements with this forecast. Some of the rain shown for the Corn Belt is going to be falling on every day during this period. Overall amounts and coverage will be increasing throughout that time frame. In the end, amounts and coverage look very appropriate as shown by this map. Some of the rain is going to be falling over the next 24 hours in the hard red winter wheat belt as well, but the bulk of their rainfall for Friday night and into the weekend. Note that some of the precipitation in the northern plains, especially near the Canadian border, will be falling as snowfall, and it should be largely dry in this period for most of the mid-south and for the southeast. QPF discussion for the day 6 to 7 time frame. No disagreements with this forecast either. This will continue to be a part of the time frame when I am expecting almost a daily threat of significant and locally heavy rains in the middle of the country. And keep in mind that the wet period will extend even beyond this time frame. Some of the precipitation again in this period will be falling as snowfall in the northern plains. For the Corn Belt and for the hard red winter wheat belt, I would think that coverage and amounts look very appropriate, and still a situation that during this time frame very limited rains for the mid-south and for the southeast. 18-hour rainfall totals, not too much in the way of rainfall during the last 24 hours, but in the Corn Belt, you can see that as far as radar estimated rainfall is concerned as well. Been talking a lot about the battle zone of air masses, cold air butting up against warm air, and that certainly has been seen in recent days, including yesterday. Note the high temperature anomalies yesterday running more than 10 degrees below normal in a big portion of Iowa and areas to the north of there, while not far to the south of there we saw a big area in which temperatures yesterday ran more than 10 degrees above normal. We'll be seeing a lot more in this type of temperature contrast, maybe even more decidedly in the way of temperature contrast for the next 10 days across the big portion of the middle of the country. As far as the forecast is concerned, we will be starting to see some rainfall developing once again in the Corn Belt during the next 24 hours. Nothing real heavy in the way of rainfall for today and for most of the daytime hours for tomorrow, although for tonight we are going to be seeing a strong cold front moving through the Corn Belt region. There will be some severe weather with that activity in northeastern Iowa and into Wisconsin, giving those areas the chance for some localized big totals. But overall, not a whole lot in the way of big rains expected in the Corn Belt for today and for a good portion of tomorrow. That'll be changing though for tomorrow night and for a long time frame after that. There's my 2-week rainfall outlook. It is unchanged from what I've been presenting so far this week. Again, it is still the October 4th through October 10th time frame, so a 1-week period starting tomorrow and lasting through the October 10th period, in which there will be a daily threat of rainfall in the Corn Belt, significant amounts falling on every day during that period, probably some heavy amounts of rainfall falling on every day during that period. Should be a situation where we see extensive flooding problems developing in a sizable portion of the Corn Belt and into the hard red winter wheat belt. Likely going to be a situation where some portion of the Corn Belt and into a portion of the hard red winter wheat belt seeing rainfall totals on the order of 4 to 8 inches and locally even more than that. Again, why are we going to be seeing such rainfall? It is because we are looking at a very dynamic, but at the same time a very static weather pattern for the period in question. For October 6th, look at the big trough of low pressure in the west, a big ridge of high pressure, quite possibly a record-setting ridge of high pressure in eastern portions of the nation. As we get to October 10th, the weather pattern remains dynamic, but has changed very little in that time frame. Still a very big trough of low pressure in the west, still a very big ridge of high pressure in the east. All sorts of cold weather with that trough in the west, all sorts of warmth with the ridge of high pressure in the east, a battle zone of air masses in between, a storm track running directly over the Corn Belt during both time frames. You could not ask for a better setup for heavy amounts of rainfall, especially given the time of year that it is. This still looks to be the wettest weather pattern that really I have ever seen for this time of year for the middle of the country. Look at these temperature anomalies for the 1 to 5 day time frame and for the 6 to 10 day period. Big areas of below and much below normal temperatures temperatures for western and northwestern portion of the nation. Large areas there running 10 to as much as 15 degrees below normal on a 5-day average for both the 1 to 5 and 6 to 10 day periods, while to the east of there, large areas running 10 to as much as 15 plus degrees above normal on average for both the 1 to 5 and 6 to 10 day periods. In particular, note that 6 to 10 day period from the European ensemble, a big area there running 15 degrees above normal in temperatures, while not far away, just in the northern plains, a big area there seeing temperatures running more than 10 degrees below normal. A look at the European model on as far as this 10-day rainfall forecast is concerned. Like yesterday, the European model is probably breaking out the very biggest rainfall totals, and there you can see that anything in purple would be areas seeing 5+ inch rainfall amounts for the duration of the 10-day forecast. Again, the European model probably the wettest, but there are plenty of other models indicating 5+ inch rains across a sizable portion of the western and northwestern corn belt into the hard red winter wheat belt. Again, the bottom line, this is about as wet of a pattern as you are ever going to see for this time of year. It is a situation where it will still be cold enough where some of the precipitation will fall as snowfall into the plain states, into the Canadian prairies. Some of that snowfall could be falling along the U.S. and Canadian border for both today and tomorrow. There is actually a small area of northeastern Montana under a winter weather advisory this over the next couple of days. Additional snow, probably multiple threats of snowfall for a lot of the area in question on some days for next week as well. I am still looking for the weather pattern to improve as the pattern relaxes for the middle and latter portion of the 11 to 15 day time frame. Look at 500 millibars for October 14th. You can see that the pattern has definitely relaxed by that time. The trough of low pressure moved more towards central portion of the nation. Ridge of high pressure has relaxed and moved further eastward as well. We should really be starting to see rainfall amounts coming down in the 11 to 15 day period, and colder weather impacting a bigger portion of the middle of the country at that time as well. South America for your Wednesday, significant rains over the last 24 hours across southern Paraná into Paraguay and northern portion of Rio Grande do Sul. Looking at the satellite loop for this morning, some widely scattered activity still occurring in that same area of southern Brazil here early on this Wednesday. The rest of southern Brazil and of course all of Argentina looking at very dry conditions this morning, and satellite loop across northern Brazil shows mostly dry conditions across the northern soybean growing areas of Brazil for this morning as well. As far as the forecast is concerned, still a lot of dry conditions in Argentina through the weekend, and they will be seeing an increase in rainfall for the 6 to 10 day time frame, but back to below normal rainfall in Argentina for the 11 to 15 day period. A wettest portion of South America during the next 2 weeks still looks to be far northern portion of Rio Grande do Sul into southern Paraná into Paraguay. Above normal rainfall there for most of the time throughout the 2-week forecast. 2-week rainfall totals there of 5 to 8 inches. Their biggest rains coming up during the 6 to 10 day period. Best rains in northern Brazil probably in the 1 to 5 and 11 to 15 day time frames, and note that for the 11 to 15 day period, even the Matopiba area of far northeastern Brazil starting to see some rainfall again late in the 11 to 15 day period. Elsewhere around the world, it is still not a wet pattern for the winter grain areas of Europe and the former Soviet Union. For the former Soviet Union, a couple more days of some lingering rainfall. Otherwise, their 10-day forecast is quite dry. Some fairly decent rains for the next 10 days for England and into a portion of France. Otherwise, limited rains across Europe for the duration of the 10-day forecast. Over in China, nothing really notable there. Near to mostly below normal rainfall for the next 10 days to 2 weeks across most of their corn, soybean, and winter grain areas. It is still not a good situation for the final stages of the harvest ongoing on the Canadian prairies. You can still see that extensive moisture is expected there for the next 10 days. Lots of below and much below normal temperatures means that a good portion of the precipitation that will fall during the next 10 days will be falling as snowfall. And you can see from this map that fairly significant accumulations are expected for the duration of the 10-day forecast. Finally, for this morning in Australia, it remains one of the wettest forecasts we have seen for winter grain areas of Australia in quite some time. A lot of their winter grain areas looking at above normal rainfall for the duration of the 10-day forecast, or even longer than that. Some of the rain that I'm showing there for New South Wales already will be starting to fall for both today and for tomorrow. That's what I have for your Wednesday. Everyone have themselves a great day.